And welcome back to Never Not Ask with me, John Martin, and we have another station review. I'm back in the Northwest and Cheshire for the Transport for Wales runs. Wales? Okay, well, it turns out the whole thing about being able to shoot a Welshman from the walls of Chester City are actually a myth, and therefore might as well let them run the station. Okay, this is confusing, but we are in England, a couple of miles from Wales, and we are, well, Chester. I said Chester. Anyway, Chester Station sits on the corner of Station Road and City Road. Chester city centre is to the southwest, Broughton to the southeast, Upton to the north. As we'll discuss, Chester is at the convergence of a bunch of lines. So let's start from the northeast and work clockwise. Northeast is the northern line towards Liverpool and Warrington. Helsby is 7.5 miles away. Next around is the Mid Cheshire line towards Manchester, with Molesworth being 7.25 miles away. Southeast is the line towards Crewe, with Crewe just being over 21 miles away. Southwest is the line towards Shrewsbury or Shrewsbury, depends how you want to say it, with Wrexham General being just over 12 miles away. The North Wales line goes west, with Shotton just under 8 miles away. The Wirral line heads out northwest and back is just under 1.5 miles away. The first railway to reach Chester was the Chester and Crewe Railway, which opened on the 1st of October 1840. Backed financially and operationally by the Grand Junction Railway, it connected Chester and Crewe, where passengers could then join trains for Birmingham, London, and the wider national network. For the first time, Chester was linked to Britain's growing railway system, although the line terminated a modest station on Brook Street. Just 4 days later, on the 5th of October, the Chester and Birkenhead opened up its own station directly opposite. This provided a route to Birkenhead and the River Mersey, allowing passengers and freight to connect with ferry services to Liverpool. The existence of the two small rival stations facing each other was far from ideal, but reflected the competitive nature of Britain's early railway industry. The success of these railways demonstrated that Chester was destined to become more than a provincial terminus. In 1844, Parliament authorised the construction of the Chester and Holyhead Railway, championed by celebrated engineer Little Bobby Stevenson. Its purpose was ambitious: to create the fastest route between London and Holyhead, where packet ships then carried passengers and mail to Dublin. Chester would become the principal station on this vital Anglo-Irish route. At almost the same time, another important act was planned, the Shrewsbury and Chester Railway. It received its Act of Parliament in 1846, with construction beginning shortly afterwards. The new railway ran south through Wrexham to Shrewsbury, creating a direct link with the railways in the Midlands and South Wales. This route would eventually become one of Chester's most important arteries. With several major railways converging on the city, it became obvious that the two Brook Street railway stations were hopelessly inadequate. The Chester and Holyhead, Chester and Crewe, and the Birkenhead Railway therefore agreed to build a joint station. The spirit of cooperation was unusual in the era when rival companies normally preferred to build separate facilities. The construction began in 1847 with renowned railway contractor Mr. Thomas Brassey overseeing the works. The station was designed principally by architects Francis Thompson and C.H. Wild, while Robert Stevenson was responsible for much of the engineering associated with the railway approaches. Built in an Italianate style with a sandstone facade and one of the largest train sheds in Britain, the new station reflected the confidence and ambition of the Victorian railway age. New station opened 1st of August 1848, replacing the earlier Brook Street termini. Although simply named Chester, it was often referred to as Chester General or Chester Joint, reflecting its shared ownership by several railway companies. It immediately became one of Britain's most important provincial railway junctions, with routes radiating, as we know, to Crewe, Birkenhead, Holyhead. Shrewsbury was still under construction at the time, but when Shrewsbury and Chester Railway finally opened in October of that year, Chester's position as a key railway gateway between England, North Wales, and Ireland was firmly established. In May 1847, just before the station opened, the nearby Dee Bridge disaster occurred when a cast iron bridge designed by Robert Stephenson collapsed beneath a passing train. 5 people were killed, and the accident prompted major changes in bridge engineering across Britain. During the railway boom of the mid 19th century, ownership of the line serving Chester gradually changed through mergers. Chester and Crewe Railway and Chester and Holyhead became associated with the powerful London and North Western. Meanwhile, Great Western Railway acquired significant rights into Chester and eventually became joint owner of the station alongside the London North Western. For decades afterwards, Chester was jointly managed by these two railway giants. Life was not smooth between competing companies in Chester. The Crewe and Chester Railway had got on fine with Birkenhead. However, the Grand Junction saw it as a competitor with its own lines into Liverpool, so the Birkenhead Railway didn't get access to the facilities it wanted at the new general station. Things got worse when Great Western trains started turning up via Shrewsbury and Chester, as this line through Shrewsbury gave passengers an alternative route from Birkenhead and Chester to Wolverhampton, Birmingham, and London. This did not go down well with the London North Western, who stopped passengers being booked beyond Shrewsbury. They fiddled with the timing of Shrewsbury trains to make them inconvenient. They barred Shrewsbury Company's buses from the forecourt, and they even forcibly kicked out Shrewsbury staff from their offices. This all sounds a little Captain Mark Hewish, an early railway tyrant who I hope to give more information on in a future video. By the second half of the 19th century, Chester had become one of Britain's busiest provincial junctions. Excursion traffic flourished, particularly to the city itself, and onwards to the North Wales coast. Contemporary reports suggest that in 1857 alone, as many as 300,000 excursion passengers passed through the station in just 6 months, demonstrating Chester's popularity as a destination and the growth of railway travel during the Victorian era. In 1875, a second major station opened in the city, Chester Northgate, operated by the Cheshire Lines Committee. To distinguish between the two stations, the original station increasingly became known as Chester General, a name that entered common usage during the late 19th century, even though it appeared occasionally a bit earlier. Chester General remained the city's principal station, heading expresses to London, Birmingham, Liverpool, Manchester, Shrewsbury, and North Wales. The railway industry underwent major transformations in 1923 when hundreds of railway companies were grouped into the Big Four. Chester General subsequently became jointly operated by London Midland and Scottish, successor to the London North Western, and the Great Western Railway, which was a successor to the Great Western Railway. After the 1948 nationalisation of Britain's railways, the station passed into the ownership of British Railways, ending a century of joint company ownership. The station saw intensive use through both World Wars, carrying troops, military supplies, civilian travellers. After the Second World War, however, Britain's railways entered a period of decline as road transport increased, many branch lines disappeared, and freight traffic reduced dramatically. Chester retained its strategic importance thanks to position on the routes between England and North Wales, but the extensive goods yards and marshalling facilities that once had surrounded the station gradually contracted. A particularly significant change came in 1969 when Chester Northgate closed as part of the wider railway renationalisation. Following the Beeching era, the Cheshire Lines line in from Manchester was then rerouted into Chester General, and as the principal station now in the city, the need for general suffix disappeared. The station officially reverted to the simpler name of Chester, which it still carries today. Recognition of the station's architecture importance had already arrived in 1970 when the main buildings were designated Grade 2 star listed, acknowledging them as one of the country's most significant historic railway stations. The listing highlights the Italianate architecture of Francis Thompson and C.H. Wilde, the surviving plastic platform buildings, footbridge, and many of the original 19th century features that continue to define the station today. The 21st century has seen Chester undergo extensive restoration rather than radical rebuilding. A major regeneration program completed in 2007 introduced a new roof over some of the concourse, improved passenger facilities, better accessibility, enhanced public spaces, while respecting the station's Victorian character. We've had a couple of accidents here. A notable one was the 8th of May 1972, which saw freight train of fuel wagons unable to brake on the descent into the station, as the driver hadn't connected the vacuum pipe up to the trucks after the train had run unbraked in the previous leg. The station hurtled into a bay platform and into an empty diesel multiple unit. Luckily, nobody was killed in the crash, but resulting fire destroyed sections of the roof, and they haven't been replaced. There are 7 platforms here in 2 blocks. Platforms 1 to 3 are basically one side platform with the entrance to the station. These are the southern 3 platforms. Platforms 4 to 7 are on an island and linked to the other ones by a footbridge. Platform 1 is an east-facing bay. It is 135 metres long and generally used for transport for Wales trains to Crewe. This was the site of an incident in 2013 where a super voyager on a train from Euston slid into the buffer stopped on greasy rails. Super voyagers no longer use the platform. There is another bay next to platform 1, but it is not used for service trains. Platform 2 is a west-facing bay used for transport for Wales services. It is 121 metres long. Platform 3 is a through platform. It is bidirectional but generally westbound. 3A is the east section, 3B the west section. The whole platform is 375 metres long. Transport for Wales and Avanti use this platform. Then there is a bypass track in the middle. Platform 4 is another through platform. Like 3, it is split into A and B. Likewise, it is used by Transport for Wales and Avanti. The platform is 310 metres long. Platform 5 is 112 metres long and an east-facing bay for northern trains and Transport for Wales. Platform 6 sits next to Platform 5 and is also 112 metres long. It is used by Northern. Platform 7 is a through platform, 307 metres long. However, it's pretty much only used by Merseyrail for their services that terminate and go back the other way. It is the only platform that has electrified track. In this case, it's DC Third Rail. To the north, there are a bunch of holding sidings. The learned sages of the Department for Transport class this as a Category B station, a regional interchange. Marks for services, 9 out of 10. Okay, here we go. Merseyrail runs 4 trains an hour into the Liverpool Loop and back out. Birkenhead Central is 33 minutes away. Liverpool Line Street is just over 40 minutes away. Northern run 2 hourly services here. One is the Manchester Piccadilly service via Mid-Cheshire line. Knutsford is 45 minutes away, Altrincham an hour. Stockport, hour 20. Piccadilly is 90 minutes. The other is the Chester to Leeds service via Manchester Victoria. Victoria is just over 50 minutes away, Bradford Interchange an hour 50, and Leeds 2 hours 20. Avanti run the hourly Chester to London Euston service. Crewe is 20 minutes away, Stafford 40, Euston just over 2 hours. Every 2 hours, these services extend to Holyhead, with Prestatyn just under half an hour away. Clendon Junction is 50 minutes. Holyhead an hour 35. One train a day extends to Wrexham General, which is just over a quarter of an hour away. Transport for Wales has a Crewe to Wrexham General service. Wrexham is about 20 minutes away, Crewe about the same. There is a Clendon Junction to Shrewsbury service, which reverses here, with Clendon Junction about 50 minutes away. Shrewsbury is 55 minutes away. These trains run every hour, but alternate extend either to Birmingham International or Cardiff. On the Birmingham leg, Telford is an hour 25, Wolverhampton is an hour 40, Birmingham is 2 hours, and then Birmingham International is 2.25. On the Cardiff leg, Hereford is an hour 50, Cardiff is just under 3 hours. Yes, this service runs from Wales, reverses in England, back into Wales and into England, and then back to Wales again. Some of these services also extend beyond Clendon Junction to Holyhead, an hour 45 away. These services have the various Anglesey stations as request stops. The hourly Manchester Airport to Holyhead misses these request stops but runs as a stopping service on the mainland stretch through Wales to Llandudno Junction. Warrington Bank Quay is half an hour away. Manchester Piccadilly is an hour 5, and Manchester Airport is an hour 25. The Llandudno to Liverpool Line Street services uses the Halton Curve. This causes some of the smaller North Wales stations. Llandudno is an hour 5, Runcorn is 25 minutes. Liverpool Line Street is 50. This is surprisingly longer than the Merseyrail stopping service. Off peak, we have 22 services an hour. From the 24-25 figures, the most popular destination is Liverpool Lime Street with 292,883 journeys, followed by Euston, Liverpool Central, Manchester Piccadilly, and Crewe. And I finally get to the passenger figures 15 minutes in. Chester has 5,271,572 entries and exits, which gives us a daily average of 14,443. We have 2,480 services per week, which gives us 41 passengers per service. But this is a major interchange station. Adding the people who don't start their journey here in, we get 16,729 passengers per day, with 54 passengers per service. Passenger numbers are increasing here and have passed the pre-COVID numbers, partly I presume thanks to the opening of new service towards Liverpool. Marks for onward travel, 3 out of 5. We've got bus services from outside the station on the forecourt. The number 1 runs twice an hour to Liverpool via Chester Zoo and Birkenhead. 5 runs 3 times an hour to Huntingdon, with every 4th bus extending to Wrexham. Some of the evening services that run partway to Wrexham are the 5Es. The 16 runs twice hourly to Saltney. The 100 is a half-hourly service that goes around the city centre and is marked as a Chester City Tour. The X1 is another service to Liverpool via Birkenhead and Chester Zoo. This runs hourly during the day. The 41 by D&G Bus is from Chester Bus Station to Whitchurch. The T8 run by M&H Coaches is to Corwin in Wales. The 40 City Rail link run by Aintree Coach Lines links the city centre and the bus station with the station. It runs every 15 minutes. There are more buses from the bus station, which is about 10 minutes walk away. Marks for accessibility, 9 out of 10. We have a staff station, we have indicators, we have announcements. Platform 1 to 3 are on the same level as the station entrance. Platforms 4 to 7 are reached by an overbridge, which has lifts to it. From induction loops to boarding ramps, we pretty much everything going here. However, only the Merseyrail trains are designed to allow passengers in wheelchairs and scooters to board independently, so I cannot give full marks. Marks for station facilities, 7 out of 10. So let's do the obvious. There's covered seating, we have waiting rooms, we have staff, we have a booking office / travel centre. I have issues with the canopies that while platforms 5 and 6 have canopy, it's not connected to the rest of the covering on platform 4 and 7. So you have to walk through the rain to reach the cover. Not that it rains in northwest England, next to Wales. We'll talk about this more in the next section. Retail-wise, we have some coffee shops, WH Smith's, there's a tourist information centre as well, there's some vending machines on the platform. Adding to that, we have a station tap pub, and also the carriage shed, which is used as an event space for clubs, for beer festivals, and such alike. The polished purveyor of perpetual inaccuracies, the National Rail website, claims there are 252 parking spaces and racks for 76 bikes. It also says there is cycle hire, but it also says it isn't cycle hire. Great. Marks for care and character, 16 out of 20. I'm torn here because this station is a lovely listed structure and they have done their best to add modern facilities and to adapt this building for non-railway usage where needed. However, when you get to the island platform, it's still a bit of a station in limbo. The wall that runs part way between platforms 3 and 4 used to be support for the roof and is now somewhat pointless. And since it only stretches part way down the platform, it looks out of place, not doing anything. The fire resulting from the accident in 1972 means there is no canopy that links the bridge and main passenger circulation areas on platform 4 and 7, with the isolated canopy on platforms 5 and 6. As well as being inconvenient, this gives platforms 5 and 6 canopy a rather pathetic feel. I assume a lot of this is due to the listing, and it's probably very difficult to fund and put in a new canopy that is sympathetic to the existing structures. We have some shrubs growing at the start of platform 5 and 6. At the other end of platform 4 is another arboreal space with a nice retro station sign. However, the flip side is there's quite a lot of grass and weeds running down the tracks. One nice retro feature is the Chester name on the covering for the strip lights on the bay platform that isn't a platform. The station frontage, sitting at the end of the road from the city centre, is imposing, very elegant, and outside is a statue paying tribute to the railway great, Mr. Thomas Brassey. This station has many highlights, but there isn't a cohesive feel to the station. Marked for nearby things, 8 out of 10. Chester is one of the tourist hotspots of northwest England and easy reach of Wales and Midlands. There are walls, cathedrals, castle, great riverfront, racecourse, some medieval shopping streets. However, the station is some way out of the city centre, although the city centre itself is pretty small and most things are within 20 minutes walk. Near to the station there's a few pubs. Overall, we get 52 out of 65, which comes out at 80%. This is a destination station, both a major interchange and a tourist hotspot. As such, a station is very busy, has great service to a wide variety of destinations. From the outside, the station looks impressive and has that golden age of railways theatricality about it. The mystique of the travel, the entrance. It's just a shame there's just no uniform feel to the station inside. What do you reckon? Leave your thoughts in the comments. Thanks once again for watching as I travel around the country. Please like, subscribe and ring that bell to be notified of the next station review. 20 minutes.